Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trucking Tower podcast and this segment of Venture Capital Expert Insights. I'm very excited to be joined today by Jerry Sanders. How are you doing, Jerry?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for calling in all the way from Italy today. You're in Italy right now, right?
That's correct. I'm in southern Italy. Beautiful weather, beautiful people.
Absolutely. I've been fortunate to spend some time in Italy working, and it's a beautiful place. Absolutely. So for my audience, I've just got a few questions for tips for success, pitfalls to avoid that I wanted to ask you, to kick things off. Who are you surrounded with? What happened? What inspired you to do what you do today?
Well, I tried traditional jobs for a while and I was fired from every one of them. And my last firing, the last time I was fired, the company owner said to me that I am way too much of an individualist to fit into an organization, and that I should be out on my own where I can do what I want to do and either succeed or fail on my own terms. And he said, I believe you will succeed. And although I'm firing you, I will seed fund you to open your own business, and I'll pay you a consulting fee from time to time, but get the hell out of here. I don't want you in my organization.
That's awesome. So you're very much an entrepreneur. So you have that spirit in you. It's hard to break that, right?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a great story. I love that. So, based on what you've seen over all these years, what are some of the top mistakes that others can avoid in this whole area of entrepreneurship and venture capital, business launching, the whole entrepreneurship world, if you would? What are some of the top mistakes to avoid?
Well, I think one of the top mistakes that we all tend to commit is to slam the door on our way out. And what I mean by that is you get fired or you leave an organization or you have a quarrel or something goes south. The natural instinct for most people is to get all riled up and slam the door and leave and kind of sever the ties. And I think you can do that, or I should say you can leave an organization or leave a place or leave a relationship without necessarily slamming the door, because ultimately what we all have of greatest value is our network. And if you cut off one of the links in your chain, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, because as we've learned, everyone is 6 degrees of separation from someone else. And so you're just losing a whole bunch of people by doing that. Hard to do, easy to say in theory, hard to do in practice, but it's well worth trying to follow that. Another mistake people make, and they make this very often, I'll take a line from my favorite movie, Glengarry Glen Ross by David Mamet, where Al Pacino says, don't open your mouth before you know the shot. And what he meant by that in the movie, and what is so true, don't blabber. Don't talk when you're not required to talk. Don't volunteer information that you're not required to volunteer, because more times than not, you may put your foot in your mouth and kill a deal unnecessarily. Wait to know who's against whom, what the context is, what's being discussed, who the people like, who they dislike, before you open your mouth and start volunteering information. And the third one I'll say, and I can expand and give you anecdotes to back these up, but I know our time is limited. The third point I'd make is don't accept the first offer, never. And don't feel obliged to respond on the spot. So typically you'll sit in an interview or someone will call you, they'll make an offer, whether it's on a piece of property, a house, or a job offer, and you feel some pressure to respond right away. You don't have to respond right away. Wait, and then you'll think of some matters that you can come back and ask for that will not break the deal for the other side, but will be quite valuable to you down the road. So those are what I would say the three salient points I have to contribute to the discussion.
Great advice, I would say, on all fronts there. So appreciate that. You know, on the flip side of that, what are some of the top success secrets you've seen from successful companies, successful investments, successful entrepreneurs? What are some of the top success secrets?
Well, first and foremost is get out of the house. You can't be successful if you're sitting at home watching TV, feeling sorry for yourself, reading a newspaper, wanting to just drink the night away. It's important to get out wherever you're going, whether it's to a lecture, a concert, the bar, the alleyway to hang out, because you are going to invariably meet people who may make a difference in your life. And you never know where that person is or how that person will come about. But I have had more than any person deserves of those types of encounters where I was planning on just sitting home watching TV, and I forced myself to go out, whether it was to some sort of cocktail party or lecture or conference. And sure enough, sitting next to me was a senior ranking corporate official who I had been trying to get in to see for numerous times. So that would be my first comment. Get out of the house, network, go out. Second one would be never say no. There's no reason in the world to start a sentence with no. There's no reason to say no to any offer, proposal, or anything. It's much better to say yes, but. And if we can train ourselves to say yes, but, and then follow that up with whatever it is we disagree with or want, we will get a much better reception than if we start out by saying no. And then finally, I would say, don't assume that you're not qualified for the position you're applying for or the position you wish to fulfill, because many people tend to denigrate themselves unnecessarily or don't give themselves the full worth. Let someone else say you're not qualified, but you should be the last person in the world to think to yourself, I'm not qualified for this position. If you believe you're qualified, you're qualified.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Well, that's great. I love that. You know, and what are you working on these days, and how can I support you and our audience as well?
So I'm working on several ventures in disparate fields. I have a medical device company we're working with. I have a real estate venture I'm working on. We have a technology group that's looking at some unique software applications. And the best way to help me is to send out my contact information to your listeners. And if any of them have an idea, a question, a comment, please address me. I pride myself on always responding to whatever message I get in whatever media I get it.
Very good. Certainly can do that. We get about an average of 18,000 views and listens of this podcast per month. So hopefully that'll help you with some connection in some way. It's funny you say that. You know, I've had these conferences I've done over the years, and you meet people that end up becoming a big part of what you're doing and introducing the next opportunity, and you just don't know where they're coming from. Yeah. You know, you just never know where those are coming from. So what would you say about overall your experience with booking and coming on this podcast?
Well, it's been a delight, and thank you very much for making it so easy to do so.
Well, I really appreciate your insights, Jerry. You've seen and done a lot of things for many years in your career. Really appreciate your advice, and I know our listeners will as well. What would you say as a final word of advice for people navigating this whole world of venture capital banking, entrepreneurship? You know, just kind of a final word of advice.
Persistence wins, always.
Absolutely. You know, everybody that I've talked to in this world, you know, has been through dark times. and you just got to push through. From everything I've seen and heard, it's not always going to be sunshine and roses. You know, you've got to be able to push through and get through adversity. And the funny thing about that, I think I've learned more over the years from mistakes than I have when things just go like smooth sailing. You know, it's funny how that works, but yeah, I would totally agree. Persistence is extremely important. Well, I just want to say thanks again, Jerry, for coming on the show with me. I really appreciate it. I know our audience will appreciate your insights. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Trucking Tower Podcast, Venture Capital Expert Insights. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jerry.